All right. I think Bill, you can take it from there.
Everyone, I think we're live. My name is Bill Gallagher. I'm the director and producer of the documentary Runner. I'm with Guor Maker here to answer your questions. Gore, I guess let's just have a conversation. We've been having conversations for 8 years. It's been
I
a
know.
while. You're probably sick of talking to me, but
Yes. No, man. No, not seeking at all.
but
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
see what do folks want to know. Let me start. So the folks probably want to know, what are you doing right now? What are your plans in terms of Olympics? And I'm kind of most interested in in 2016 you had a tremendous weight on your shoulders. Like, are you feeling that right now? Do you feel more at peace? Talk to me about your training, what you're doing, and any plans and things like that.
Right now, I am continue training. I'm just slowly getting back and on my training. That's what I'm doing right now for next year Olympics. As far of being more um, weight on me or something, I think I am more relaxed than in 2016 because I think the mission that I was pretty much thriving to accomplish is has been accomplished, which was to take South Sudan to the Olympics. However, I'm not gonna say I am completely relaxing because there is more need to be done to make sure the South Sudanese athletes also get back to next year Olympics. They'll be able to not just a three or two, but at least 5 or 10 athletes going to the Olympics. That's also is a something. It's a kind of different kind of pressure that I have now. It's not a
Right.
pressure to go and compete, but the pressure to make sure the athletes got to get a chance, and the federation is prepared to make it to the Olympics.
Yeah. Um, one thing I want to stress to folks who are watching is how hard you work in all aspects of life. I mean, Corey Imels, your old coach from
Mhm.
Iowa State, said he's never had somebody work as hard as you. You'd be waiting on the bus, to go on a trip. You'd have your book in your lab studying for a chemistry test or whatever. Um, just constantly studying, constantly working hard. You're always Uber, for example. I know back up until a few months ago, well,
Mhm.
a few years ago, you were doing like 12, 13-hour days at Uber. You
Yes.
could do a chemistry tutoring on the side. When we were
Mhm.
ducking in and out of festivals, I would hear you tutor, chemistry and physics, which by the way, you're super gifted at. You're just like such a hard worker. We talk about sort of the weight and the drive for you to raise the flag of South Sudan, but you're like that in all aspects of life. Sort of, what motivates you to work so hard?
I think the life I was brought up in, uh, that the life I was brought up in, we were brought up to work extremely hard. From when you start
Mhm.
walking,
Yeah.
you pretty much you're walking because your parents are in the farm. So
Yeah.
you have to hustle with the things that you're supposed to take care of, and there is no one would come and give you something to live on, to live off on. Is
Right.
you and your parents are the one have to struggle and get all of that. And the society I was brought up in, there's not many opportunities, and everyone has to work extremely hard to succeed. When I came to United States, I would see endless opportunity, and
Mm.
it's up to me to apply myself to make sure I pursue those so I can go back. If I reach a certain level, then I can go back to the community I came from and fix. So what
Mm.
drives me the most is the community I came from,
Yeah.
is how the situation is there in the community I came from, which is in South Sudan. And that is the kind of thing is grimy, and it makes me work out every single day and go and try to push as much I can, based on my ability, and try to make sure I achieve that. Um,
Mm.
when I left home, I separate of all my education life. There's never been a single parent telling me, "Go, you need to go to school." You need to study. Okay, what grade did you get? How did you do your homework? Did you do all of that? I was a parent at the same time and a child at the same time. So
Mm.
I kind of adopt that kind of mentality, is that it has to be work, 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 because I have to be better than today. Tomorrow has to be better than today. And that's what has been driving me the most, is to be better and make a change my life, and also the community I came from. It's because the community needs me more than I need myself, because I got opportunity. And if I get this opportunity and I don't use this wisely and bring it back to the community, then I don't know who am I on this earth, and what the God gave me this opportunity for. So that is the whole thing, why I keep working that hard. I remember 2017,
Yeah.
before I was pretty much driving 17 hours a day with Uber, and I
I
would come
remember
back
that.
and tutor, and it's just life, and it feels normal to me,
Right.
because I have to. There's no excuse to say I cannot do it when the opportunity is on my disposal.
Right.
That's the thing.
You got folks back in South Sudan depending on you too, right?
Yes, absolutely. They
So
do. They do. I am a source of my family, and
yeah.
I have large family. Collectively, relatives, family. I Every time I'm talking, people are gonna say cousin, cousin. How many cousins do you have? I have a lot of cousins. We It's a network. It's all of our family, even the friends somewhere. You're sending a little bit here and there to help them. That is a survival. Is People who are surviving are those who have their loved one outside or relatives outside. Those are the one pretty much we South Sudanese outside. And it's
Right.
not just South Sudanese alone. The refugees in the Middle East, Somalia, all of in the continent of Africa, and somewhere in Europe, those who are in a good place are the one actually making the country running. Otherwise, it would be very, very tough. So there is also is a pressure on us, all South Sudanese outside, is to make sure whatever we get, we have to share. We have to split
Right.
it. There are some people out there back home waiting for you and want you to help.
Yeah, I hear that. So we have a question from Nathan. What was your biggest adjustment that you went through after you arrived to New Hampshire?
I
Lots of
think
adjustment.
language, culture, and weather. Those was the toughest. And the culture, that including food, how the system work, how people treat each other. There's some of the thing you cannot, you would to say some places, and then you have to understand how people say things in the community you land in, and also try to translate in my brain from Arabic into English. It was all the time things were backward. And even when I'm writing, I would start sentences, end of the sentences, that's where I would start. So
Right.
it was kind of, all of those are the challenges I faced it, but because of the opportunity I got and the support, I was able to catch up um, right on. So those are the things I faced a lot. Mm.
Startup TV show says amazing film. Thank you for your inspiring story, Gore. Gore, what is your favorite scene in the film? Ooh, I want to hear this. I actually don't know this.
Oh man. All right. Favorite scene. Man, that's tough.
Well,
It's
while you're
really
thinking, what you want to think about it, because there's a second part to it. It says any
okay.
stories that didn't make the cut, Bill, that you want to share. God, 8 years of
Uh,
filming. There's a
I think
lot.
okay. I'll give you this one. I think my favorite scene is walking in the stadium of Rio de Janeiro and holding the flag and waving. Waving is it's gonna live with me for the rest of my life. It's never gonna go away. It's my favorite. My reunion with my family is supposed to be a favorite.
Mm,
However, it gets me. I
yeah.
feel a lot of guilt that I have been away for that long and looking at my mom's condition, all of that. But it's still my favorite because I was able to see my family. It was amazing. It was amazing reunion. But as for the most joy when you do something, you work so hard and something comes successful. And thank you to you, Bill, of all of this. It would not have happened without your support and a collective of many people. Is that is a moment I pretty much gonna remember, and hopefully my kids in the future are gonna see.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so
Yeah,
what is the second part of the question?
it was for me about what didn't make the cut, but I just want to expand upon Rio because you reminded me of something we've never talked about. First of all, Rio, being in Rio with you was the highlight of my professional life. And, just to remind the audience, like you had ran off course in Ottawa in the end of May, almost June. July 2nd or 3rd, you went to Gold Coast Marathon. Yeah. We all know what happened there. And what's crazy about Gold Coast that people don't realize is, remember your flight got delayed like a day and a half or something?
Actually, yep, day and a half, and I arrived there 4 days. I took a trip, so I left on Monday and I arrived on Thursday or Friday, something like that.
And then you ran on in the heat, like on that Saturday or Sunday, with being jet lagged. Like jet lag is real, and when you're in Australia, coming from, in your case, you were coming from Arizona. So that was your second marathon, and then your third marathon was August. So we're talking 3 marathons in a little over 3 months, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So anyways, I see you at the finish line. It was a big celebration. We filmed. It was the highlight of my personal, my career. But what I never asked you, what did you do anything to celebrate that night? We split apart, and I didn't see you again until couple months later. I'm not sure when, but did
after the race?
After the race, did you do anything to celebrate? Did you feel great? What, we didn't talk about that. What happened that night? Anything?
I don't know. I think my celebration ended right after the finish line.
Yeah.
Right after I crossed the finishing line and you hand me the flag. And I hold the flag, I kiss my jersey. That right there, that went the celebration.
Yeah.
Right after that, I start thinking of what is next. Right after I walk out of that finish line, I said, okay, what is next? How can I make sure we don't finish the way we finished today? And that we don't come the way we can. So I went back immediately and I set a meeting with the federation. I said, okay, yes, we finished. It was a great fin. It was a successful appearance for the first time, but we need to start now for the 2020. Right. There is a lot of work need to be done. That I was pointing out a lot of mistakes that could have been done, taken care of, but we failed to do. So my celebration was more of thinking ahead on what can we do next. So we went out a little bit here and there. And I remember marathon was the last day.
Yep.
We finished and then we went to the closing.
Right.
So everything was okay. And then tomorrow people are packing and you're leaving. It's kind of strange for the marathon. But so because it's always the last day.
Right.
So my celebration is finished there, and then I went ahead and talked to official and said, we need to get this done. And some of them had to leave the next day. So we wasn't that much. And I came back, pick up my driving Uber, and life continued.
Oh man, not even a few minutes of celebration after. But what folks don't know, I mean, it's funny that not funny, but interesting that you brought up, talking to the Athletic Federation right away, which I remember. I mean, folks don't realize, and I wish that could have been more a part of the film, was that you were in constant communication with the Athletic Federation in South Sudan, the Olympic Committee in South Sudan, the runners. I mean, you were on them, pushing. I think it's very fair to say that had you not pushed so hard, probably 2016 flag raising would not have happened.
I
So
will slip away.
it probably you were pushing hard every day. So any stories that didn't make the cut, Bill, that you want to share? There's so many in 8 years. One is it didn't really fit story wise, thematically, but you remember the 2013 Olympic bombing? Marathon bombing in Boston. Gore and I were at the finish line. Gore happened to be injured at the time. We had planned to film Gore running in the race. Clearly, he got injured a month or two prior at the New York City half.
Yeah.
And in I think March, I think it was St. Patrick's Day, and and so we said, well, we already have plane tickets. We already planned on shooting. Let's just try to be there. And we were there all day at the finish line but of course we left, when the elite marathoners, finished and crossed the finish line. So we were way out of there by an hour. We missed the bombings by at least an hour, if not an hour and a half, I would think. Yeah. But that was a weird day, right? We were filming you and your reaction. So that was on the cutting room floor. There was lots of stuff. There was a whole, we filmed in South Africa, the African Championships, when a bunch of South Sudanese went down there, like 20 South Sudanese guys went and women went down there and tried to qualify. So I thought for a while that this whole B story of the team South Sudan would sort of emerge, but there's only so much you can fit in a film. All right, can you both talk about how the documentary came to be? Okay, so I guess I'll start. So 2012, a few weeks, I guess, before the Olympics, I read in the press that Gore had qualified for the Olympics. And at that point, he had been offered a spot from the country of Sudan, the country that he refuged from, the country that, had killed 28 members of his family. 8 of his 9 siblings had passed because of the war. And Sudan offered him a spot in the Olympics, and he said, thanks, but no thank you. And I had read, Gore, about your story. I was so incredibly moved. It was one of the most incredible stories I had ever heard. And then to top it all off, you were offered a spot and you said no to the Olympics. And I said, man, this is incredible. This guy has a real strong moral foundation. And I thought, I had been really passionate about, the Olympics. I always grew up liking the Olympics. I was passionate about refugee stories. I did my graduate film thesis on a refugee story. It just seemed to me a perfect opportunity with the narrative arc of trying to qualify for the Olympics. Would be a great story. And more importantly, I thought, Gore, you had this sort of hero's journey. It was a great opportunity to have a Western audience, American audience specifically, to be able to sit with a refugee for an hour and a half. I mean, you're much more than just that, but you do represent the refugees as well. So I thought that was a real interesting opportunity. And I thought it was going to be a short film. So remember, I was going to go up. So I immediately called you. We talked on the phone. We just hit it off. You invited me back to South Sudan to see your mom and dad. And within a few days, I was meeting you at the 2012 Olympics, which was crazy. And then you just meet this crazy guy who wants to film you. But there was lots of other people, as I remember, that also wanted to direct a documentary. One of which was a pretty well-known documentary director who went on to be nominated for an Oscar. So talk a little bit about what you thought about this crazy guy with a camera. Like, why did you agree to do the film? And why did you choose to go with, I never asked you this. Why did you choose to go with me and not the sort of famous director? Or did you even know about that? Because that went through your manager at the time.
That's good. That's a good question. I think Given that I did not know much about the documentary at the time, what is a documentary and the film,
Right.
and also I didn't want to be on the camera. That's the second. Third, I did not want my family story to be exposed to the world because I wanted to
Right.
bury my life, my past, and try to walk behind the scene and help my family just like any other refugee.
Right.
But like they always say, first impression make a huge difference. And when I first talked to you on the phone, uh, it did not convince me much until we pretty much saw each other in London.
Yeah.
And the kind of energy, the passion you put into
Yeah.
it, and the way you just didn't do it as something you wanted to do it for money or to be fame or something like
Right.
that. You kind of turn in the way that this is huge. This is more than just you. And if you can allow me to help you tell the world about your story, it's going to change a lot of life, not just you. So when I look at that, I've come to realize this is not me, but my story is coming to from me and it can change people's life.
Mm.
And if this guy, who I do think that he kind of put himself in my shoe and relate the life and empathize with my story and the situation that refugees go through, then this is a guy I can go with,
Mm.
and I can trust him, and he's the one going to show me that he showed me his gain my trust. He's the one going
Mm.
to do that. And I'm
Mm.
not going to try to be fair and do that. And it's something he's going to do it. So that's how I pretty much, yes, there are there were, you're right, there were a couple actually, even one person, one documentary guy, he's an author actually. He didn't want me to do a documentary. He wants to do a book
Right.
and
I remember that.
exclude a documentary. And I looked at him. When I looked at him, the way I did look, it wasn't. It was not about looking to tell the story and also to deliver the situation the people are facing. And I didn't see him putting himself on my shoe or any other
Interesting.
refugee's shoe. All I
Uh,
see was, okay, I have this African guy and I can make a lot of money out of him. This
right.
story. That's what I saw. And it was it terrified me. I said, no, sorry, not gonna do it. And I'm just gonna hold off. Okay, I had some person from where in Arizona offer me, hey, we have to do this. You don't know how want to do a documentary because
Right.
documentary is not it's gonna limit you. And I said, okay, that's fine. So the way you can build that's what pretty much took my trust to you.
Got it.
Is you put yourself and you're passionate about it. And
Mm.
in addition to that is you agree and you work so hard to try to go to South Sudan to see my family. That's
Yeah.
also was a big plus. And
Yeah.
remember, the documentary is supposed to be in right after 2012.
Yeah.
But I said, no, we if we're going to end here, I'm not
right.
sure how people are going to see what I'm telling you is it true or not.
Right.
Because I want to be as transfer as much I can to allow people to understand to the core what is going on.
Right.
So that is what happened. That's why I end up working with you with all of it. eight
I
years
guess.
later.
Yeah. 8 years later,
Yeah,
man,
yeah,
what a journey.
yeah.
I guess that gets to another question that what's, the overall purpose for you of part going on this journey? What do you hope that this film achieves ultimately?
My hope is because this film pretty much contained three parts.
Right.
There is a flooded part, there's a refugee part, and there is a part of a child living separate at early age from his family, and that
Mm.
tie back to the war.
Mm.
So I would hope people will take this story and not just say, "Okay, this is a really sad story from is a refugee guy from Sudan, from South Sudan."
Right. Right.
I would want people to take a look at it and reflect. on their own self and their kids and see the age I left, imagine them living apart from their kids or their
Right.
kid living apart from them at that early age. How would they feel?
Right.
And realize that. And the kid continue by themselves, and then 20 years later, you reunion with the child. Imagine that to yourself, reflect that, and see,
Mm.
find a way of how you can fix that in your own community, your country, and the world as a whole. How we can make sure these kind of things don't happen again to a child. That is what I would hope. That is what I hope a lot of people will take it away from it. Said, okay, this is a real story, and these are the story exists. And this is just one of the example of million of stories of refugees and immigrants, and not even and even the people who live in, let's say, United States, for example. We facing a lot of issues here, and
Right.
there are some parents who cannot. Their kids are pretty much on their own way, and they are struggle to put the food on the table because of the situation. If we can find try to find those kind of a solution for problem like that, I think it's gonna make me more happier to say, okay, my story was worth it of some change. And that
Yeah.
is how it work. That's what I would want people to take it away is look at it, reflect it, change from your own self, your community, your country, and the world as a whole to make
Right.
sure we stop those kind of stuff. Because again, is if we sit in the corner of our own world thinking that we are happy, there's nothing going to happen.
Right.
The earth is a sphere, and we are more connected now than we used to be. So
Right.
what is going to happen on the other side of the world is going to come and affect you wherever you are. It's going to affect you. It's going to
Right.
affect your life. It's going to affect. So it's better for us to pinpoint and fix something far before it gets to you wherever you are.
Right.
So like refugee migration, it's affecting the entire world. Climate
Sure.
change is affecting the entire world. How can we do all of this stuff? That is what I would want. I just hope people will take it away.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think to that point, seeing your reunion with your mom and dad, is all you really need to know about war. What
Yes.
generations and generations of war does to families.
Yeah.
It's easy to have missed the whole 2 million plus people who had passed away, the whole crisis, if you weren't paying attention to the nightly news in America for a few days here in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And your story was like so many other stories that weren't captured on camera, and those reunions never happened. You often say that you were one of the lucky ones that you got to go back and see your mom and dad alive. So it's real easy to group people, and I think our problem is disconnection. Right? We see people far off in far off lands, and we're disconnected from that story. And the power of your story is we can connect. I can see your mom and I can see your dad, and I can think about my own mom and dad. I can think about my own child and think, what if I didn't see her for 20 years? So that, I think that's a powerful part of your story, to say the least. John Viveros, what were you feeling when visiting your parents for the first time, compared to landing in the country, seeing your brother and uncle for the first time?
So we're different. We're different, and the film would show right away is that landing in the airport in Juba, as you might see on the film, I kneel down and kiss the ground because I feel at home. I never felt that since I left my village. I have never felt that. So when I land in Juba, I felt this pleasant of I am at home.
Yeah.
This is my land. This is where I was born. Uh, and then when I went and saw my family, it was different. That emotional kicks in and reality kicks in. It was different seeing my brother and my uncle than I was seeing my mom and my dad. This is real, and this
Right.
is where I was born. Um, this is this is a place I was born,
Yeah.
and this is a place I left. and it's still the same place as when I left. It never changed.
Yeah.
Little by little bit, did not never change. People are still
Right.
the same condition. So when I look at it, it's all of that emotional kicks in, and it was way different. The other one, it was a pride for the nation. When I landed in Juba, that kind of feeling was the feeling, okay, I am at home now. Now I have to do something. But when I went to the village, it was way, way different. A lot of guilt, a lot of sadness, a lot of frustration of why this is still the way it is. You see,
Right.
this cannot be. Especially I come to the West and see how things are here, and I went back there and I still see my mom as 20 something years ago, and my dad and all of that. The entire community is still the same way. It
Yeah.
was just overwhelming. So those the two contrasts I will put between the two.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Johnson, what was it like to be followed and filmed for 8 years?
Real tough. Real tough. It's not fun, but again, to do something, you have to find the purpose of why you're doing what you are doing. And it's sacrifice. It's
Right.
not easy, especially when it's something involves with your family's privacy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. But like I mentioned earlier, if people would take away and we make a change because we have a connection, like you said, Bill, I think that's the best thing. It's going to be a good sacrifice. So it was not easy. Especially sometimes I have to take time off and try to be on a camera with Bill for a couple of minutes here and there. And you too, Bill. I was feeling really, really. Actually, it was kind of how this guy handled it. I was actually feeling my job was easy. I'm just showing up on the camera and talking. But this guy is traveling from Spain and all of that worldwide, 5 continents. Imagine.
Yeah.
I thought it was the hardest, is it then? So my job is to just tell and all of that. But yeah, it was first in the beginning was weird to be on the film
Sure.
on the camera, but then it become okay. And what actually gave me a good foundation to handle the camera crew follow me is I got exposed to it since high school. In high school, the camera used to come to me, and then in college as well. So I kind of got that sense of getting, but it was different. If people just show up here and there, but majority of it, it wasn't like this 8 years long journey. But it's for good cause.
Right.
That's what I put in. So I would not regret a single of it, or said this was a waste of time. This was a bad idea. I would not waste it. Especially when I see people making a lot of change because of this, and a lot of change because of the million of a story, a many stories just like mine, and
Right.
try to put this together. I think that's going to be the most important thing.
Yeah, and I just want to underscore that for the folks who are watching is that, Gore didn't necessarily want to be filmed. He didn't want to be part of a documentary, and that's important to note. You sacrificed, your privacy and the privacy of your family because you thought it was going to make a positive change in the lives of others. And I just really commend you for it, because I could see how hard it was for you. It was difficult and awkward sometimes for me because, I didn't want to talk to you about horrible stuff all the time and sad stuff. And I get it. Like, it's not fun to talk about this stuff at all. But you saw a bigger picture, and that hopefully this can help folks. And yeah, so I commend you for that for sure. And you by far had the harder job for that.
Yeah, you did have a lot of hard jobs.
But you did. But we did film, for the folks out there, we did film 5 continents, at least 7 countries, at least, probably more. Let's see. And also, Eric, what was your intention when starting this project, and how did it change? Yeah, I mean, my intention was really primarily to have folks see what war does to folks, and sit with a refugee story, to get to know a refugee. There's so many folks, a Western audience that just has never met a refugee. They only know these folks who flee their country from the news or from other stories. And, just by sitting with somebody, watching this incredible story, getting to know somebody, it can have a huge effect. I've seen that in my own life, my own family's life. Just, when you get to know somebody from a different background, culture, orientation, anything, once you break bread with that person, once you get to know their story, it changes everything. So that was my primary intention. And how did it change? It really never changed. But I think what kept me in the game for 8 years was that the theme that emerged from this film, is a theme that just is a personal motto of mine, which is our circumstances don't define us. And that is what you stand for, Gore. That's what this film ended up being about, in my opinion. That you have two choices in life, right? When the horrible stuff happens, you can let that pain consume you, or you can let it propel you into positive things to make a positive change. And that's what kept me for 8 years.
Yes.
So, Emily, so glad your story has been told, and I'm happy to have learned more about it. I love your perseverance and your passion. What are your future plans, says Sarah?
My future plan, again, day by day,
Right.
is upcouple Olympics is coming up next year, so I'm focusing on that. The next thing is hopefully in a couple of months or so down the road, hopefully before the end of this year, is to launch a foundation, and that foundation is going to focus solely on project in my area, the village I came from, which is called Parian, and so in a way you saw on the video where I reunion with my family, is the foundation is going to focus on the three main as need for the people need, and that is water, health, which is in building a hospital or clinic, and education, and then later on, and those are the three things for my area. The fourth one is going to be for athletic. Continue with the South Sudan Federation to make sure the athletes get opportunity to at least to become a stronger federation. And the reason why am so focused on the sport is because of the unity of the people. The people need to be united, and I do strongly believe that a sport is a power to unite people. It has a power to unite people. Once we watching a sport, let's say you go to the baseball or you go to the football stadium, someone coming from Hawaii and you're coming from New Hampshire or somewhere like that, you're sitting next to each other. Next thing you know, you're a friend when your team wins. That is the key. And I saw that earlier from Nelson Mandela of the South Africa. When he got out of jail, South Africa was completely apart. But he became a president, and what he used, the tools he used is his sport. And South Africa was saved because of that. And I do think South Sudan, for just a little bit background on South Sudan has a 64 tribes, major tribe. And if you go piece by piece, it goes to 100 or something. And all of that, every group are on their line as a tribal line. There is no nation. We have a pride for the nation, and this nation is our tribe is your nation.
Right.
And I wanted to change that. And to change that, it has to come through a sport and education. So those are why I'm so focused on those ones to try to make sure these can come. So those are the plan. And also continue with my tutoring. Hopefully my business tutor is gonna expand. I have a website now and I tutor live on. So those is kind of thing I'm building. And also I do have an important job here, which is my military job. Is very important to me, and I'm thankful that I am a part of this such a very important organization. So I'm continuing with those. So that's pretty much my life, and of course, my wife here, make sure I take care of her and we take care of each other and we're pushing. So that is a plan for now.
That's cool, man. You mentioned Nelson Mandela. Talk about you're a student of Nelson Mandela, right? Talk about in the sense of you read him. Talk about some of the folks that you read that inspire you, that things like that.
There's so many inspire me on outside of the athletic, and also Nelson Mandela become one of them.
Right.
There was this guy. It was a liberation movement of South Sudan. His name is John Garang. John Garang has happened when I was in high school. I was visiting many colleges, and one of the college in particular, which I end up to go, is Iowa State. I visit Iowa State, just like touring any other colleges. And then I went home, and after I visit, and then my coach told me to say, "Hey, Gore, a couple days before you came, Sarah and Sarah came. John Garang came to the university, and actually John Garang went to this university."
Crazy.
And I was gonna, are you joking or are you? And he said, "No, here's a proof." And he sent me that. And even the professor who was teaching John Garang John Garang's professor was there. So when I heard like that, I told Marie, that was my host family in New Hampshire.
Right.
I told her, "This is it. I'm done. I'm going here. This is the place I'm going." Because this is our savior guy. He's like Nelson Mandela of South Sudan. He's the one reason South Sudan is the country, because of him. So that is the guy who was inspired me the most. In athletic, it was Paul Target and Gabriel Selassie of Ethiopia. Gabriel Selassie of Ethiopia and Paul Target of Kenya. Those are the guy pretty much. And of course here we have Michael Jordan, and you have Michael Johnson was a sprinter. And Bernard Lagat, and you name it. There was a lot of, and I have Muhammad Ali on my wall all the time. His work ethic and his determination. Sure. So it's all of that kind of collective people. I think that's what just keep me inspired, because there are some people I was looking up to them. So, but yeah, Nelson Mandela was big deal to me. It was a big deal. The way he did things. Yes, there are some of the things that we did not agree with what he think, but majority of the stuff, the way he set up, and also he left the power right away. Right. Not many in Africa leaders can do that. But that's yeah.
Cool, man. Okay, so Rebecca Field, Gore, what can Conquer New Hampshire, and I'll expand to the rest of the towns and cities of the United States in general, do to make newly arrived refugees feel more welcomed and a valued part of our community?
I think New Hampshire did a phenomenal job. That's what I can say. Without New Hampshire, I would not be sitting here. We will not be talking about this Olympics thing and documentary and all of that. So New Hampshire has done a phenomenal job, but there is always more to need to be done. To do things to connect is to understand the situation of the people, reach out to them, connect with them, make them welcome, create a program that can focus on those kind of group. Because when a guest came to your place and you don't create a conducive environment for that guest, it become a problem. Especially when something is new to a community. And if something feel they're not welcome, or they don't fit in the society, they start thinking differently, and they start alienating themselves that they are not belong there. And now we start being a finger pointing. Okay, it's your problem, it's my problem, it's your problem, and the tension is like that. So I do think that the beginning is to understand each other, to understand everyone's situation. Same thing goes to the newcomers too. newcomers also need to understand the community, and the community need to understand the newcomer and to welcome each other.
Mm,
And now they can go to create the program based on the need of that particular group who are coming. New
mm,
Hampshire did really good in that, especially in Concord, New Hampshire. When I first arrived, we were probably maybe about five, or I would say maybe four of us. We were pretty much immigrants, but they tackled the situation right away. Immediately said, okay, these kids, first of all, they speak different language.
mm.
Some of us were coming in the French. They speak French, and myself, my cousin, and a couple, we speak Arabic. So the school has to find a way to get that, to make sure we got everything we need.
Mm.
Same thing is it was in Laconia, New Hampshire, the high school I first started. They start those kind of program is that, and also alongside of that, there was some people coming to our community, within the community, and make sure we have all the things we need. When I went back after I went to college and went back there were almost 200 immigrants, it's students. So
Wow.
there in high school, there's something called commons. That is common A, common B, common all of that.
Hmm.
Mine was common C. When I went there, the entire locker room in the common was torn down, and it was pretty much to to compensate the student. So it was
Uh,
almost like a ESL where they do all their work and all of that. They tore
wow.
down all the locker room and all of that. Even where I used to put my books and all of that, I went there, it was nothing,
Yeah.
because their school has to find a way to cope with the number of students who need help. So I do
Sure.
think that is a way, and it can go to any community.
Right.
That if you have a newcomer, reach out to them, try to understand them, make them
Right.
welcome. And when they make them welcome, actually they become a good citizen, because now they feel a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
And now they said, this is my community, and I have to do something for my community. I have to protect my community. And this
Right.
message goes to the newcomer, to the refugees, and all of that one. Make sure you make self belong to the community. Show the people whom are you laying to is that you're going to be a part of the community, and you're going to be the good guy for the community and the productive for the community. So that way, that is how the community is going to progress. Because sometimes the community can do much, but if the newcomer don't meet them halfway, then the community has has a limit, and that limit, when that limit reach, then the two apart, they go into a different direction, and now we become a chaos. That's how I look
Right.
at it. That is the message I could send to any community and Concord, because I'm speaking from the example, and I was there.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of Concord, I went up a bunch of times to film, and it just really felt like home. Like I could tell why you felt at
Yes.
home there, because
It's my home. It's gonna be my home for. It's my home here in the U.S. I can live
absolutely,
anywhere, but New Hampshire is my state, and Concord is my home.
it's a special place. The
Yes,
people
it's
are
special.
are amazing.
Yes.
Okay, I think this is probably the last question. So I'm coming at you. That's a weird. I'm here from Madrid, Spain. It's 3:49 a.m. my time. Gore, where are you?
I am in Colorado Springs. It's 7:49 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Okay, this is a global
Yes.
affair. Okay, so this is from Lebo Films. Let's end on a fun, positive note. I know things are serious right now, but wanted to ask a fun question for Gore. Gore, I loved your story and can see it getting gobbled up by Hollywood one day. If that did happen and you had the only choice of who to cast you, who would you pick?
Who the cast?
Ooh, who would play Gore in the fiction remake? I love
Oh
it.
man, I don't know. Maybe Will Smith.
There
Although the age is different, but I think you could be a good one.
you go. Will
Yeah,
Smith.
Will Smith or Denzel Washington, but his age is gonna be different. But I think Will Smith is a guy. He's
All right.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
good.
Will Smith, if you're listening, We got your next role.
But there's so many guys out there. They're gonna try to find if it's a happen. Then I'm pretty sure they're gonna try to find. I'm not gonna be the one. That's for sure.
Hey,
but they can find a guy that almost looks like me. I'm pretty sure there's a new guy from Africa. They're good actors too. I can't remember their name, but I can point out some of them too. I can't remember their name though. They in Panther they have a good actors in those movies
Black
too.
Panther. Yeah.
Black Panther. So there are a couple of good guys, good actors and actors if they wanted to go on that side. Yeah. But for now, the person I know is Will Smith because I like him a lot, and Denzel Washington. It's not going to be John Damon because Damon is going to be a little bit different, but unless they flip things, but it's good. Yeah.
Cool, man. All right. Well, anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
I just wanted to say thank you for to all of you for joining us and for actually the all support that you're giving us to be able to come to Q&A and to watch the documentary. Please be safe out there. We are facing the really challenging time now with coronavirus. Keep your distance and watch the film. If you like it, share it and talk about it. Talk about the situation. How can we do this? What is going to happen? Just don't, like I mentioned earlier, don't watch it and say this is a sad story and it's a very powerful story, but we don't make action upon it. That's going to be quite a bit. We're going to be like people in the Bible when Jesus was giving a knowledge is that, I give you money and you went and the other one went and it was a seed and the other one went and planted and the other one went and stored them and the other one went and do those one. So let's be the one who go and plant the seed. And then when the harvest time comes, you can show that I harvest the seeds and here are the more fruits that we can expand. And I think we need to make the change. The world need us more than before, than ever. And we are in a time that we're all connected. And if we don't make a change for the future generation, then it's going to be very, very tough for us to catch up. So thank you again. And you will have a good night and happy summer. And Bill, thank you to you. You need to go to bed.
This has been great, Gore.
We'll talk again soon for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gore. I appreciate you doing this.